All right, we should be live.
Cool.
And I hope that everyone can hear both of us, because I know last time we had some trouble with that. All right, let me check my own stream to see if we're live. Okay. 15 watching.
Can you guys hear us? Give us a thumbs up or some sort of a hello or something like that so you guys can see us.
Dolomite says all good.
Or some sort of a hello or something like that so you guys. Okay, it was showing up on YouTube so I'll exit out of YouTube. I don't know if we just got an echo, but it looks like it's working. So
yeah, I just heard your echo, which is a good sign.
Cool.
Fantastic. Yep. Hello, all good. Thumbs up confirmed. Fantastic. All right, lovely. So yeah, welcome in everyone. Welcome in, or welcome back if you're new. We have Joe Parys here, who, I mean, there's a lot to say about you, man. Like self-made millionaire, went in on Hex clearly, and it's time-stamped in history with our videos where we were hyping up Hex at around what was like 4 or 5 cents and talking about PulseChain, and here we are, like what, a month or two later. Price of Hex probably like 2-3x from when we were talking. PulseChain has raised $200+ million in funds, about 10% of that to go to longevity research. We have Vitalik allegedly saying good things and showing respect towards Richard via Aubrey de Grey, the founder of Sens. So it's not kind of some secondhand social points we got there from the creator himself. But yeah, we decided, Joe and I, to make a quick Q&A here, because last time there was a ton of questions in the chat that we weren't able to answer because we were just, focused on each other. And it was our first time really having a one-on-one conversation anyways. So it was like get to know each other kind of vibes. And but now it's all you guys. So we'll start reading the chat and hopefully we can answer some of your questions. I tweeted this out. So
yeah, just if there's anybody who is watching, just throw your questions down. Obviously we'll talk about Hex, PulseChain, and there's been some people in my my course and group that had some questions as well. So I don't think that there's any silly questions, so just fire away and we'll do our best to answer them. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool to look back at the videos, and like we were talking about before the stream, I mean, what's his name? Carl from the Moon. Exactly as predicted, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy how picture perfect, spot on we kind of were with not only the technicals but the fundamentals, and it's cool to see, right? Like obviously it's rewarding, and yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers and everything that the PulseChain sacrifice has done and what Hex has done in the last few days is just nothing short of, I wouldn't say, it's pretty miraculous, to be honest with you. It's just like, wow, like that's pretty impressive. So especially with, I mean, how bearish the market is right now, it is kind of miraculous. So, but yeah, if there's any questions, let's fire it up, and we're here to serve.
I love it. Let's see, what questions do we have in the chat? Well, the same guy who was in the chat while we were in like private mode, I don't know how he got there, but he's asking more dip or sideways opinion on, I'm assuming Hex. So let's pull up that chart.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and like take a look at the charts and feel free to answer that question, then I can kind of follow up with what I'm thinking as well. We can kind of both put our input in.
Most definitely. Here, let me get rid of let's just leave it like this. I'm curious what my screen actually, well, like what people are seeing with the live video. Let me just take a quick gander. Okay, so they can see like half and half. I think it's kind of cut off for them, but yeah, let me try to fix that actually. Oh, much better. Much better. Now we can see each of our full screens. Yeah, so this is the Hex USD chart on Uniswap V2. This is the thickest liquidity pair. About, what is this, $7 million on each side of liquidity. So total about 14 million bucks. Remember, this is V2, so liquidity is symmetrical, meaning there's the same amount on each side. So yeah, I mean, this is a chart. Let's hear your opinion first. Just sort of what you think on that question of, do you think we're going, he says more dip or sideways. I'm assuming he's talking about this like one-day dip. But yeah, what's your take on this chart? Immediate thoughts.
I mean, I'm not the super guru technical analysis type of guy, but I did watch a couple of videos, and I think that the 12-cent, 10-cent region is definitely in play, kind of where you marked it. We did see quite a pump, right? But I do think the 14, 15, 12 cent, if it does go down to 12 cents, I would be looking to maybe scoop some up. Again, not financial advice, but I feel like a lot of people did rush into this and they did sacrifice. They kind of like the first day FOMO, right? We kind of saw that wave. And so now we are starting to see it cool off a little bit. And I would anticipate that carrying on for today and maybe a little bit in tomorrow. We might see a nice pump tomorrow because it's the last day that everyone can kind of sacrifice without getting or have to pay any tax on it. So I do think that that's in the play. But I do think too that a lot of people have been buying, anticipating that, initial pump, and we kind of got it. And now the FOMO and the excitement is kind of withering away a little bit, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of go sideways or trend down a little bit more, especially depending upon how the market is reacting, right? If Bitcoin goes to 25,000, I think Hex is going to move down a little bit, right? Just naturally, people are going to get scared. And you got to remember, there's a lot of new people that have entered Hex and this whole PulseChain thing in the last little bit, right? Like we're seeing a lot of new people, and they're just, unfortunately a little bit inexperienced. They don't know what they're investing in necessarily. And so they're more likely to go, all right, I'm up a little bit of money, I'm just going to take it off the table. This crypto thing is cool, but I'm going to take my profits, right? And so, can I see it pumping to 50 cents tomorrow? I mean, I think it's more likely that we go down a little bit further, if anything, and then or stay sideways right at this 15-cent mark. Because what are we at right now? 14.6. Yeah, I mean, I think that we had a nice pump. We're at where we thought we would kind of be. I think that it's going to take a little bit longer for us to kind of build more hype around this. And I do think at the end of the whole thing that Hex could move up again. That's what I'm thinking, is like that last little push to kind of get your Hex in there and to sacrifice it. Just my thoughts overall, because typically when these pre-sale things go out, everyone kind of is excited right away, right? You kind of get that, and then it's like the last second FOMO, right? It's like, I don't want to miss it, so I'm going to jump into it now. Because there was a pre-sale, it was called Wise, and this was months ago. In the beginning, there was actually just a little bit of hype, and then in the middle, it was actually like the best time to get in, was like towards the middle. But they had a different mechanism. But then right at the end, like the last 3 or 4 days, that's when the most FOMO came in, and that was actually like in their pre-sale, it wasn't as beneficial to get in because you were actually late. But that's when the most action did come in, was those last 3 days. So again, that's just one example of a model of what could happen. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you, what you're seeing kind of more in the charts here.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I like your take. I like your take because it seems like a more fundamental kind of analysis where you say you're basing it off of the sentiment, more so like the hype and the social aspects of things. And even you pointing out, like, we have a lot of new users, like you pointed out. I don't know if I agree completely with if Bitcoin dips, Hex dips, although you do see a little bit of that reflexivity. I'll give you that, even though just like on a macro zooming out, it's not as much. Like we saw with when crypto crashed, right? Hex kind of held up and then it did its little crash. I think it was, where was that? When like all of Bitcoin went from like when it dropped like 50% in a day. Where do you remember what day that was?
It was March 19th is when that happened. But when Hex dipped from like 6 cents to 3 cents, that was when like all the altcoins
this one
like it got crushed. I remember Polygon dipped from like $1.50 to like 70 cents.
Right.
And so look, I agree with you, right? Because the main liquidity for Hex is USDC, right? And Richard like figured that out. Like, look, we don't want the rest of the market to be, reflexive to what's happening.
Right.
That being said, though, I do think that there will be a little bit of panic, right? People just in general are like, if Bitcoin goes to zero, like, I better get out. You know what I mean? And so while Hex is less reflective, 100% agree with you. I do think that if Bitcoin does tank, I think that Hex just in general, it's really interesting because people, like, once people start selling, then more people sell, then more people sell, and then more people sell, right? And then it's like, well, once people buy, they buy, and then more people buy. It's like this. It's interesting. So we got this massive big pump. Like you can see, I mean, those are some big green candles, right? So I would anticipate, and I think it's healthy too, that we get a couple of pretty decent sized red candles, and we're starting to print a couple right there. If I'm looking at it correctly, that's a pretty decent sized red candle, and it looks like we broke through that triangle that we were going through. But I'll let you kind of talk more about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, how some people, right, not everyone, will take a Bitcoin dip as a sort of risk-off event and just kind of sell everything and not think in their minds, oh, Hex is kind of non-reflexive, right? Because a lot of new people, like you're pointing out, they might not be kind of aware of this increasing decorrelation, I want to call it. And so they might just consider it a risk-off event and just sell literally everything. So I can see that sort of bit of reflexivity coming in. But overall, I mean, this chart looks great. We tend to see just bull flag after bull flag on Hex. So this one that we mentioned looks like just a big old bull flag. If you extend it out to this, we call it an ascending triangle. And I mean, our targets were confirmed. If you remember, we were talking 12 to 24 cents. Our technical target being 12. If we double it, which we have historically twice with these like macro bullish formations, then it was 24 cents. And look at that. We wicked to like almost 22. So I would say those targets have been hit. But now like T8 not goes out the window, but partially goes out the window because of what you said. There's like a lot of hype around, obviously, PulseChain created by the same creator. And it's just a lot more eyes on Hex now. So you have to take into account all of these analyses, like fundamental analysis, technical analysis. I do like quantitative charts on the website. So
what are the technical and the quantitative stuff telling us? Because I think that we've done a decent job kind of covering between the both of us the fundamentals of it and whatnot. But what are the technical saying? Because that's always something helpful, right? And that's kind of like, all right, where could this go if it does go down? What's the targets? And then where could it go if it does go up? Like, what are the next targets? That'd be cool to know.
Totally. I actually haven't like thought about that too much, but let's see.
And then we can also get to more questions in the chat, right?
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
that was the whole point of
we
this.
We don't want to ignore the chat. We appreciate you guys for sure. We want to definitely try to answer as many questions as we can.
The first question, we were taking like 20 minutes. No, but I mean, technically, I think it's hard to tell. I mean, this looks like a bull flag to me. Can it keep continuing to print? Yeah, like you could have called this a bull flag, right? This one over here, like right here, you could have said it was a bull flag, but it kept going down, and it was still a bull flag before continuing up. So I don't know. I mean, it could keep going down. I don't see this 10-cent level as significant as something like if you remember this one, let me delete this. That like 6.4 cent level was pretty clear resistance. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but
yeah.
Okay, let me make it thicker just in case. There we go. So this like 6.5 cent level, we tested it like once, twice, 3 times. The 4th time it broke, held it as support, super bullish. In this case, like this 10-cent level I had previously drawn was just tested twice. So it's not looking to me like it's an ascending triangle top that needs to be tested again. I mean, if anything, some people have drawn like a wedge right here. So you could argue this like, what is this, like this 8-cent level? Where's the channel at right now? The very bottom of the channel is around 10 cents. I mean, maybe. The quantitative charts say a different story, though. They're like mega bullish. Let's pull up. I don't know if we've covered these live together ever. Let me show you the Regression Rainbow. One of the main formations that stands out to me out of all of them, maybe I'm biased, you tell me, but I see a pretty interesting fractal that could be playing out. If you look at back here, when we're oscillating around can you see it on your chart?
Yeah, no, I can see both screens here, so I can see.
Awesome. Yeah, when we were oscillating between the orange and the yellow before we blasted off to pink, we've been oscillating around the yellow similar to over here for like almost 2 months. And these levels are simply like, I don't know if you follow these models. Yeah, have you seen any of my videos on the exponential regression, or you want me to kind of refresh your viewers on it?
I watch all your videos, man. Like all of them. I don't comment on all of them. I give them all a thumbs up. I watch all your videos like as soon as they come out, typically. So
I appreciate that, man.
I mean, yeah, and, to be completely transparent, like I just consume content all the time, whether it's you or other Hexicans, other
Nice.
YouTubers. Like literally, I'm just like a machine when it comes to that stuff. So,
Nice.
But yeah, look, let's give the folks what they need, and then let's try to grab a couple more questions here as well, because I know that there's more people. There's over 143 people watching us, so
awesome.
we really do appreciate you guys, and we'll be a little bit more. We're going to be answering as many questions as we can here, and we'll get to you. So drop your questions down below, and yeah, we appreciate you guys being here with us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just to finish off the thoughts, and I'll get to a question. It's just that, well, we just hit the green. And I have a bunch of videos on what these levels actually mean. You can check them out. But if we reach something like purple or pink, we're looking at anywhere from like 50 cents to $1 in like less than a month. But that's assuming this continues on at a similar rate to what this did and similar just formation. Obviously, it might be more methodical and might take a while, or it just might be completely different. I don't know if that's useful at all, but like literally anything can happen.
No, I mean, it's super helpful. Like all the stuff that you have on Look Into Hex is like amazing, right? Like the more data and the more stuff that you can have like at your disposal helps you make better decisions, right? Like,
right.
And that's why, when I first came across your channel, I was like, this is great, right? Like not only do you know what you're talking about, but also you have the data to prove it and like back it up, right? Like that's the key here. And that's why, we've been able to actually talk about and make decent predictions, right? That are come true. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's like, we're not just like saying like, hey, this is going to go to the moon. It's like, no, guys, we're looking at multiple different angles of this. And that's why we're doing this stream here too, is to like educate, right? Like, I think that's the huge thing here. So here's a really good question. I'll let you read this one and then we can rock and roll with it.
Let's rock, dude. So this question says, do you think P-Hex may eventually pull liquidity and value away from P-Hex? I'm assuming P-Hex pulling liquidity and value away from normal Hex. Seems like they may end up competing with each other. I personally don't think so. I think they can coexist for different, I guess, use cases. Like there's this case I'd kind of thought of a while back that said, well, maybe the high value users who've already made hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars off of Hex don't mind paying $200 to end a stake, although obviously it sucks. And even if you're, a multimillionaire, like you want to save your money. So I think the people who care about the fees, it's really that simple. The people who care about the fees being low will go over on PulseChain, and the people who maybe are, I guess, more risk averse. I don't want to imply that PulseChain is risky, but it's something new. You can't deny that. And people who are more risk averse and say, you know what, I'm just going to stay on this chain because I know it, it's familiar, and kind of see what plays out on PulseChain before they decide to make the jump and transition over. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I don't see the competition aspect between P-Hex and Hex to directly answer the question. I think they're more so just, well, my real honest guess is I think people who want to stake short are going to stake on PulseChain. The guys who want to do, I don't know, monthly stakes or something for like a selling off the interest. I know that's a popular strategy. And I think the people who are going to focus on like longer stakes might use either or. So I don't know, man, 50-50. It's tricky. Well, I guess time will tell. What do you think in terms of the value kind of accrual across both chains?
Yeah, I mean, it is a really good question. So thank you, Julio, for this question, because it is something to think about, right? So there's a few different things that you have to think about with the new P-Hex. Mm-hmm. Basically, all of the people that have E-Hex, the Ethereum Hex, are going to be getting a direct copy for free, right? And so there's going to be this price discovery with P-Hex. And then you got to remember there's like so much of that that's already like there, right? There's going to be a ton of sell pressure there, I think, in the beginning, because when people get things for free, typically they just, look at what happened with Uniswap and 1inch, right? You give a bunch of free tokens. Right. What happens? People just dump them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Now, again, if you would have just held on to your Uniswap, it'd be worth more today than you did when you dumped it. But if you look at their chart when they did it, I mean, the thing dumped from like $7 to like $1.90 or something, right? So I think in the beginning, you may see something like that. And will it take away from the Ethereum hex? I think it will a little bit, actually. Like because I do think people want cheaper, they want new, right? They want the shiny thing. They want to get into hex before they, get into hex, right? Like I think a lot of people missed the first hex, right?
Yeah.
The E hex, and they're like, well, this is my next chance. So I don't care about the Ethereum hex anymore. I want the new one. And so I do think that it will pull away a little bit from Ethereum hex. But that being said, Ethereum hex is so well established and there's so much money that's already invested in it that yes, I do think that it will continue to be successful, right? And the really cool thing is if you're watching this now at the time of this recording, you can do both, right? And you can have both. And it's like a double whammy win. And so, and like Gerardo was talking about, there's different strategies for both chains too, right? So longer, probably on Ethereum hex, right? Shorter on the new PulseChain hex. And I do think that they can coexist, but I honestly do think they'll kind of pull away from each other a little bit because there is a little distraction, right? It's like you now have two options. You know what I'm saying? It's typically like you don't want to have that many options for things. It's like one place, one thing. And Richard even says this. He's like, are you going to make a new project? And he was like, no, it's called Hex. Do Hex. And it's like, well, now he did, fork it for obvious reasons because of the fees. But now it's like, all right, I feel like more people are going to migrate over to the Pulse chain, especially if it's really good and it works really well. And I think it will pull away a little bit from Ethereum Hex.
Fair enough. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like, I like how you pointed out the uni airdrop. I actually have a video on that. I'm sure you said you watched the videos that I'm kind of echoing. Is your YouTube stream on? I can hear my echo.
Yeah, I mean, I can. There we go.
You just mute it, please. Sorry. Yeah, the uni airdrop. I have a video on if you had actually dumped your uni for Hex at the time, what the ROI is based off of. I think it was like September 17th or something like that. And there was actually a time where uni was outperforming Hex, and then it was just for like a few months, and then it flipped back over, and now Hex is back on top. But I like how you pointed out a lot of people who missed out on day one. Well, not day one, but the early days of Hex. This might be their second chance. Yeah. And for the longest time, Richard was saying to those people, when will we see like a second chance? He was just saying, no, Hex is your, like, if you missed it, you missed it. It's not too late, but there won't be a second chance. And then lo and behold, Ethereum gas fees get too high, and here we have our second chance at a fully proof of stake coin at this point, because the only thing that held eHex from being a fully proof of stake was Ethereum, right? They do proof of work for their mining. And now we have a proof of stake layer 1 chain and a proof of stake for transactions token. So it's going to be fully proof of stake. So that's a pretty strong value proposition for PHEX, in my opinion. It's just fully proof of stake coin as opposed to hybrid. And I don't know about calling it eHex personally. I know everyone's doing that, but I'm going to stick to my guns and just call it Hex. I don't like the rebrand. I think Hex is a great name, and I'm just going to keep calling it that.
No, definitely. And it makes sense to just, call it Hex. But I think some people kind of get confused sometimes. So
yeah, it's okay. At least as long as we understand each other, right? That's what's important.
For sure.
Here we have John Gibbons. Thanks for the comment saying, God will sacrificing ETH. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, that's you want to hand this one over? Or you want to go?
Sure. I guess I'll take this one first, and then we'll kind of just bounce back and forth. I think it's amazing, right? Now, would it have been better, obviously, if he would have bought that Hex and then moved it over? Of course, right? Like that would have been better for everyone in Hex. But like the thing that people got to realize is that if you were to take in 10,000 Ethereum and just bought all at one time, so many people would have sold like crazy. You know what I mean? And then he wouldn't have gotten anywhere near the amount of value that he would have got just by sacrificing his Ethereum, right? So right. Maybe the God Whale has also sacrificed some Hex too. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if we can see that or not, but maybe they just did Ethereum. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, look, that's amazing, right? Like, and it just shows like testament to Richard and also PulseChain and the new token, right? Like if somebody is going to put up 20 million, right, without any evidence yet of anything going to happen, I mean that's pretty spectacular. You know what I mean? Like as an investor, that's a lot of money to anybody. So
It shows strong belief, right?
100%, exactly. It really does show that there's a lot of interest for this, and yeah.
I agree with that point, that if he had bought 10,000 ether worth of hex, like on Uniswap, for example, he probably would have just became like a huge wick. We can do the math on what 20K ETH would have done to the price. Let's see. We have $7 million liquidity. And how much is 10,000 ETH? $20 million?
Yeah, approximately, because ETH's at 2,000, so approximately, right? Like 19.
Right. Okay. So add 20 million to 7. It's 27. That is literally just 3.85x the liquidity. Since it's an automated market maker, you square that and you get a 15x. Holy shit. Times the price, about $2. But that's just liquidity here. If they had done it on 1 inch, it would have spread it across Uniswap V2, Uniswap V3, maybe some other ones I'm not familiar with, but maybe not $2, maybe less. But to your point, it might have just been a huge wick and sold down. And something people don't understand, a lot of people don't understand, is that if a whale is to market buy, he gets slippage. So if it's 15 cents to $2, for example, what his order would have done, his average entry price is not going to be 15 cents. It's going to be somewhere between 15 cents and $2. And so let's say his average entry with that massive market buy is, I don't know, let's just throw a number out there, like 80 cents. Then if people sell down that order and create a wick, well, guess what? There's slippage on the way down too. So it's going to be like the actual value, or, well, no, because when you sacrifice, you don't get slippage because you're not selling.
No, but either way, there's that time window, and honestly, like, yeah, he just would never do that. You know what I mean? Because you get the slippage on the way up, right? Because you're moving the price probably, what did you say, 15-20% on yourself? That's a lot, right? What is 15 or 20% of 20 million is like 4 or 5 million? You know what I mean? Like
he 15x the price, not 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean it would probably be a huge number, right? So I mean he'd be losing millions of dollars just to do that, and then people would be selling into him on the way down. I mean, if it wicked to $2, I probably would sell my entire bag. But as much as at least my liquid bag, you know what I mean? As much as I love Hex, like, there is a point in time where you're gonna take some profits. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how you make money, is by actually taking the profits. So just remember that, folks. Like, it's an amazing project, but if you don't take any profits, like, yeah. So
hey, I wouldn't blame you. That would effectively mean the price shot way through the pink upper limit here on my model. So you guys have my full permission to sell some. If it crosses above pink, I won't blame you. But yeah, like I really think, now that I think about it, I think it's a speculative play. I think if you were to 10,000 ETH market buy, shoot it up to, let's say, $2, he has an average entry of, I don't know, we'll keep our thought experiment of 80 cents. I think he's betting that within 30 minutes, people won't wick it or sell it back down to 80 cents. So I'm pretty sure that's the bet a whale would be making if they were to make such a big buy. And if you look at his actual orders, I have it on this other screen. I'm not going to share his Godwell address just because they probably don't want everyone eye-banging their address. And enough people know about it. Like, it's out there. But like I've shared it in previous videos. But he only makes like 250 Ether to 500 Ether buys on Hex. And he's been doing that for the past 5 days. Bought like $12 million worth of Hex last I checked. Spent a few thousand Ether, but only does it in 250 to like 500 Ether chunks for the same reason we just talked about. Their market buys. So he's not, becoming the liquidity like a limit order would have him do, but he's definitely playing it smart and letting people sell into his buys so that he can get better overall order execution. But I mean, yeah, I think we covered that in depth a bit much. Let's move on to another question. This is pretty easy. Can you explain the sacrifice a little more? Am I essentially swapping tokens for PulseChain? Kinda. You're sacrificing, the way Richard puts it, you're sacrificing to make a political statement that you believe blockchains are free speech and are a protected human right. And that's really what your money is going towards. But the set of people are likely to be airdropped Pulse once the mainnet goes live. So it's not effectively a swap. You're really just making a sacrifice and then later being possibly eligible to receive free coins. So the terminology isn't a swap, but I mean, over the course of weeks, effectively you are giving up something and in time getting something else. So you can call it that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, what you're essentially doing is, trading one set of value for a potential other set of value, right? Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me is that the Pulse token apparently is going to launch at 0, right? And so why that's interesting is because in a lot of pre-sales and ICOs, typically they don't launch at 0, right? Some fair launches do that. And why I really like this, if we want to call it an ICO or pre-sale, which it's not, it's a whole different thing, but it's also following that narrative, right? It's like you get in before anyone else and blah, blah, blah. What's really interesting about this one is the fairness. Anyone can participate from anywhere in the world. All you have to do is follow the rules, connect your MetaMask, and sacrifice whatever coins you want to sacrifice, right? And like, there's so much game theory in this that to me, it's really exciting. I just think it's really cool. And to see over 1 billion hex in 4 days now just be taken off the market, like, you got to think about that. I mean, that's hundreds of millions of dollars just gone, right? So it's like, well, where does it go? Well, we don't know. But the point is it's not on the market anymore. So that to me just screams bullishness for hex, right? And what will happen, we don't know. Again, there's all these different things happening, but we're seeing a ton of people emergency unstake, and it's really interesting to see this whole dynamic play out. But basically, yes, you're giving up your coins and hoping for a return of these Pulse tokens, depending upon the chart, which goes days 1 through 5. It's 1-to-1 value, right? So if you sacrifice $1, you get $1 worth of the Pulse token at 10,000 times, and then it goes up from there 5% every day for the next, I think, 16, 17 days. And then, so yeah, there's a lot of game theory to this. So I'll turn it back over to you, Gerardo, because you did a really good job explaining this to people and you got it up there. So if you can kind of walk them through where we're at now and then where we're going in the future with the curve, I think that'd be helpful for them.
Totally. I'll knock out 2 birds with 1 stone and answer this question. How long have we got until the 5 days are up? If you go to lookintohex.com/PLS, I actually have a little timer up here. This is based off of the tweet of the PulseChain official Twitter when it went live. It was like 4:48 UTC time, and so I just based the timer off of that. So every time this days ticks over to another day, you're going into the next day. So I believe day 5 begins. Let's see, 19 to 18 is day 1, 18 to 17 is day 2, 17 to 16 is day 3, 16, 15 is day 4. So we're going to be into day 5 in about 7 hours, I believe.
Yep.
And so the 5 days are up. What is that? 31 hours from now. So we're in this flat part of the curve currently, like you were mentioning, and about to tick over in about 7 hours into the last day, 4 to 5 right here, where, like you were saying, you get 10,000 sacrifice points, i.e. PLS, for every dollar, right? And your US dollar value is actually captured at the moment of sacrifice, give or take 15 minutes in either direction, I believe, is the average. Not sure if the 30 minutes is prior, after, or like midpoint, but basically you're getting an average of your entry the moment you sacrificed. And yeah, I mean, I can go in depth into these other charts, but let's actually stick to the questions. And if it comes up naturally, then we'll go into that.
No, it's perfect. That was a great explanation, and it gives them a little bit more idea of what to expect.
Definitely. Everyone's pointing out the importance of kind of the language here in the chat, how it's not buying, it's sacrificing. Correct. see. People are talking about the bubble above the channel. I think they're talking about this, just how, because I've covered in the past how we've seen bubbles. This is just a little parallel channel I drew, just because it's held significance for like 8 months in the sense that it was support here, resistance, resistance. It just keeps being resistance and support like it has been for the last 8 months. So, okay, historical significance. We're above it, and we've gone as far extended above it as like a 2x or so. So that would correspond currently to like 30 cents. Obviously, no clue what's going to happen, but that's just what has happened in the past. Just for those of you who are talking about that bubble, like this comment here. Looking for questions. Let's see. I like this one because I thought about this. Could it be whales pushing price down so plebs panic sacrifice? Day 5 was always a target day. Watch hex price rocket over this week. Yeah, I'd already thought about this, but what's your take? Do you think this is a possibility?
100%. Yeah. Right. Like I definitely, and if you look at, there's been a couple of people that have sold like millions of hex, and I mean, definitely it could be manipulated in that direction. Now we won't know for sure, but I do think that there's a chance tomorrow to see some fireworks with hex. Definitely one last little push, and I then do think at the very end of the whole thing, because people might like not know about this for another week or two and be like, oh man, I better get into this. And so they might look at hex and go, wow, what if I just buy some hex and sacrifice it? Everyone else is doing it. Because you got to remember, there's a lot of new people and they're not studying this like we are. You know what I mean? Like we literally for weeks and months have been, you know, hashing out the details, understanding what could happen, looking at the charts, where hex is at. Like a lot of people, you know, they'll just watch a YouTube video and go, oh, so I sacrifice hex for pulse? Okay. Like, and then they just go and do that thing without really understanding like what they just did. And, you know, I know that because I've done it, right? Like I've bought things and done stuff because I saw something and I was like, okay, I'm going to go do it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should have done a little bit more research, right? So we've all been there. But I do think when it comes down to are whales pushing the price down? I mean, absolutely, right? And full disclosure and, you know, transparency, I sold some hex at 17 cents, not my entire bag, but a decent amount. And I did rebuy back in around 15 cents. And I think I gained like 20 or 30,000 hex for doing that because I want more hex. Like I'm greedy, you know, like straight up, guys. Like I love hex. I'm all about it. It's been one of my highest performing assets. And I'm like, all right, look, I'm going to be honest, right around that 20 cent mark. It's a little overextended, right? And so I didn't time the complete peak, right? It's, you know, a little bit more difficult to do. But right around that like 17 and a half cent mark, I'm like, look, I'm going to take a little bit off the table just in case it does dip because I want to grab more of it, right? And then, you know, lo and behold, it did dip down to like 14 cents. I didn't get it at 14 cents. I got it at like 15. And I ended up gaining some more hex, right? So to me, I'm trying to think about what this question is asking, and it's a really good question. You know, can it rocket tomorrow? Sure, it could. Will it? We don't know. I think a lot of retail already did the rocket, right? So they kind of, everyone kind of like FOMO'd in, right? Because that's what people do. They just FOMO in. They're not really thinking about it. They're just like, okay, I got to get in, right? And then they're like, so do I get anything back or what happens next, right? So like I'm getting a lot of those questions in my chat. And I do think that, yes, there's a chance that we do rocket. I don't think, though, I can't see hex going to like 50 cents tomorrow, though. Like I don't see that happening. I do kind of feel intuitively like we had our move up. I think we can move up a little bit more, but I don't know if we're going to see craziness tomorrow. I do think if there's going to be another rocket, like, whoa, fireworks, it's going to be the last day. That's just my take on it. But I'll let you go for this question as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole 8D chess thing going on. It's like, I mean, I like this question because it touches on that, how everyone's trying to maximize their USD value for sacrifice. And let me actually pull up these charts, okay? So this is the time bonding curve only. Here, I was up till like 4 a.m. one night and coming up with some new models. And this basically tells you your cost basis versus time. And these are the colored curves where it takes into account the time curve, but also takes into account a variety of volume multipliers where, like, I found this to be the kind of complicated part of the mechanics is this volume multiplier where depending on the size of your sacrifice by the end of the phase, you're going to get assigned a number between 1 and 2.5x, and that will be your multiple on the number of actual coins you get. So you kind of have to guess at the end of it what your multiplier is going to be. But that's why I plotted basically all of them, saying, well, if you're a little guy, so a 1 multiplier, it's this red curve that corresponds to you. And the reason I plotted these is because at the very end, the last 3 days, you get everyone gets treated as an average person. Everyone gets treated as an average size sacrifice where they get 1.75x for their volume multiplier. And so if you were a little guy that gets a 1x this whole way for your volume multiplier, on the last day, you get a 1.75x, so you're not a little guy anymore. So it's advantageous for the little guy, but for a whale, it's like, well, if a whale was going to get a 2x multiplier, they probably don't want to wait until the last 3 days. So there's this incentive for whales to get in earlier, I think, and I guess the little guy retail to get in later. But then these curves only apply if you're sacrificing stable coins because you're assuming kind of a stable value. And that's why I plotted this white dotted curve, which is your hex ROI from day 1 of sacrifice. Meaning if you'd bought hex on the first day of sacrifice, this is how much you'd be up, more or less, up or down, right? This can go beneath 1, obviously. And so, and if you divide hex ROI by your cost basis, you're effectively getting your optimal time to sacrifice. And so you get something like this, which is showing so far day 2 was the optimal time so far because it's the peak on these for all of these, right? They're all just kind of offset up to the upside because of volume multipliers. But for the most part, it's looking like day 2, which makes sense because that's when hex was like at 17, 18 cents. So far has been the best day to sacrifice your hex. If any of that makes sense, or if any of that doesn't make sense, please, Joe, like speak up. I want to make this as clear as possible.
Yeah, no, it's a lot to digest, right? Yeah. There's a lot of moving pieces to this. Just know this, right? You don't want to overthink yourself into something, right? Like if you're going to do this, the first 5 days for most average retail people who don't want to go through all of the different timings of this and the market and all the different coins, 1 through 5 is just you're probably going to be happy with that, right? Right. Trying to time the market in general is very difficult to do. Yes. And that's why, Hex has done so well. It's like, it just, I don't know. I watched Richard's live stream today and I had a lot of people commenting on it. And it's just, he's just so right all the time. And it's just like, it's mind boggling to me how people can even debate it because it's like, at some point you got to look yourself in the mirror and go, Hex has gone from fractions of a penny to 14, 15 cents. Like what part of more of the chart do you not, the results like aren't you seeing? You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing though is that there's a lot of details, right? Yes. And there's a lot of things that go into this because it depends upon your coin that you're sacrificing. If you're sacrificing BNB, well, BNB could go from 300 to 400 in 2 days. So it might be better for you to sacrifice on day 6 or 7, right? Because you're going to get the appreciation of BNB. So you got to be paying attention to your cryptocurrency. You got to be paying attention to the overall market. You got to be paying attention to, there's a lot of different factors. And so unfortunately, we can't exactly, again, obviously not give you financial advice. So we can only do as much as we can. And we've done a really good job, I think, overall. But yeah, let's move on. I think we've covered this one. And I think Hex Softball is a pretty good question here. So I'll let you take over.
Yeah, man. And to your point, like you can plot any ROI from day 1 of SAC here. I just decided to plot Hex because obviously that's the one that's been outperforming everything. But like you said, you could plot BNB here and you'd get different optimization curves where it says, okay, here is so far the best time to have sacrificed. And I want to emphasize that so far, like this isn't a filled chart yet. Like this is just updating every single day based on the market itself. So at the end, you'll be able to tell when the best time to sacrifice was. But in the moment, it's just like a price chart. You're just speculating. So just really wanted to clarify that. But Hex Softball says, could you review some of the totals, please? How much Hex, etc., has been sacrificed? It looks like, let me reload this, a total of $280 million have entered this address, of which you have about 1.2 billion hex, meaning almost $200 million of this 280 is in hex. So what fraction is that? Like, what's 200 over 280?
It's like 80-ish%, something around there, 70-80%.
Yeah. Let's see. 71% exactly of that is hex. But yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and see this for yourself. It's not a public address, right? So
yeah, what's that website for people? Because I'm sure that's what kind of like Hex Softball is asking, is like, can you like talk about the different coins that people are doing, and then how they can get this information themselves.
There's actually a great website that was made by a community member. They just whipped it up like super quick. It's pulselead.xyz, and it shows the total sacrifice. I like this because on Etherscan it shows you current value in USD. However, on pulselead.xyz, it more so uses the the mechanic that's going to be actually used to calculate how much pulse you get is total. Well, it says it here. The prices are calculated based on what the crypto was worth at the time of the transaction. So that's pretty cool. I honestly don't know if this timer is correct. I rely on the one I made on my website because I'm basing it off the PulseChain tweet specifically. But here you can see a leaderboard of who sacrificed the most. I think this one was made today for like 20 million bucks. So this is a leaderboard and it shows totals. But if you actually want to look at the tokens themselves that this address is holding, you go to etherscan.io. The actual address itself. I mean, I don't like posting addresses in the comments, but I mean, you can find this if you connect your MetaMask to pulse.info. It'll just generate the Ethereum address for you. And yeah, make sure you're getting the right address. I don't want people like sending money to the wrong address. But yeah, etherscan.io is the place to go for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, when you look at the hex and it's just a wall of hex just being sacrificed, it just is really incredible to see. And I do think that we got a nice little push in the first few days. I do think that that's good. I do anticipate in the next week or two it will slow off a little bit. I don't think that we're going to see as much coming in, because again, that hype FOMO kind of gave out. But the fact that so many people have sacrificed Hex is just incredibly bullish to me. Like and again, I think that Hex just bumped back up to 15 cents here, and it's right around 14.8. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. But to me, it's like a billion Hex is now off the market, right? Like, just think about that. Like, imagine $100 million of another, was it 200 million? $200 million of a coin just gone in 2 days. Like, yeah, I don't know. To me, it's amazing. So, LX9933 said, if I have my Hex stake, do I receive P Hex, or does it have to be liquid to get on the Snapshot airdrop? This is a really good question. So you get it both, right? So both your liquid and your staked, you will receive a copy of for P Hex. So whether you have it just in your MetaMask wallet, just sitting there hanging out, or if you have a bunch of stakes, you'll receive both. The question, and I think, will you receive interest too, or how do you think that's going to work? Will you start, will your T shares be there as well? Like, yeah,
it's an identical copy of the system state. So therefore, all of your stakes will be there. All of your T shares will be there as, I don't know if people are going to call them PT shares, but that's effectively what they are. And so the rate will be the same because it's a snapshot on a specific date. So whatever the rate is in terms of T shares to Hex, I think it's like 18,000 something Hex per T share. It'll be 18,000 P Hex per PT share, or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, you'll be accruing your interest. So that will be the same. Obviously, the only thing that will fluctuate is the actual market value of these coins based on the market. But other than that, every other number should pretty much just be the same in terms of, you'll get all of your liquid and your staked Hex copied. I like that you point out that a lot of coins are just being taken off the market. Because what's funny is that with Bitcoin, you kind of see the opposite. I think yesterday around 16,000 coins got unlocked from a Grayscale trust. So just a fun fact, if you're in Bitcoin, 16,000 new coins just hit the market, which is like, how much money is that? That's like $500 million. Just throwing it out there. The more you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that whole situation is more FUD than anything, to be honest. And I think people have been selling because of that thing that you just said. The people who bought the shares, right? Like, it's not as easy for them to just sell right away, and a lot of them are underwater. So I don't anticipate that actually is going to like nuke the price, but it could. And yeah.
Oh, did our connection drop?
It's just a supply and demand.
Oh, there we are.
Now we're back.
Okay, we're back. Sorry, I had a little hiccup there.
There you're good.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much on Bitcoin, but could you see a bull trap here maybe where prices rise, you get retail excited again, and then the Grayscale coins start dumping? So you see maybe like a bounce to higher levels and then, I mean, I don't know. A lot of these guys are playing, like I was saying, like 8D chess. So it's kind of hard to tell what whales are going to be doing.
I mean, this is just my thoughts of what I think will happen. Now, again, I think this is going to be a really interesting bull run. Everyone's different. Everyone's new, right? We can use stock to flow. We can use prior stuff, but everyone's looking at those charts, right? And so that's why we had this $65,000 quote unquote top, is because no one was expecting that. Everyone was thinking 100,000, 200, 400,000, right? We were literally on track to potentially do that if we kept going up. But then what happened? Wham! Out of nowhere, Bitcoin went from 49,000 to 30. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that caught a lot of people off guard. It caught me off guard, right? So it's like, okay, you got to be thinking about the next steps. And here's the thing: everyone is so bearish right now. Everyone thinks it's going down to 24. We're going to have a washout, et cetera, et cetera. And that's exactly when you typically want to be doing the opposite, right? Like, even if it does go to 24,000, like, okay, but typically you want to do the opposite of what the sentiment is, and you're going to be, you're just like one step ahead of them doing that, right? Then once the trend changes, the trend is your friend, right? So if we flip here, because we've been bearish for the last 2 months. Now, if we flip back to bullish and we start doing bullish things, my belief is that we're going to 100, and like we're going to go bull then, right? It's like we went bull for 3 or 4 months, or maybe it was longer than that, 6 or 7 months, whatever it was. Bam, we came back down here for 2 months. Maybe it's 3 months, right? We go bear and then we go bull again, right? I don't think there's going to be this trapping, right? We've been doing that trapping a little bit as it was. We went to 41,000, then we went back down to 30. We've been bouncing around in here, right? I think now we're going to wash them out. We did wash them out, or a decent amount of the new people. And now we're going, right? Like, if we're going to, because you got to understand that the institutions want to make money, and if we keep messing around with these bull traps and this and that, people are just going to give up on it, and then no one makes money. So I think it's going to be maybe one last little wash. And maybe that doesn't even happen, to be honest. Maybe this is it, the 31,000, if we hold this. And then if we go, I think we're going to go. That's just my take on it.
Right on. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw a video that you made where I think you took some off the table near the top, if not at the top. You made a whole video saying, things like kind of overheated. I think Bitcoin was like 60K or something.
No, I don't think. Yeah, it wasn't right at the top. I took it off of a bounce, right? So we dipped down to like 30, and then we bounced, and I was like, all right, we're bouncing here. I'm taking some off the table. I still am modeling a majority, but I'm like, something happened. I remember that morning of March 19th or May 19th. I was sitting in front of the screen, and I'm not gonna lie, it did scare me. I was like, wow. I mean, we fell fast, and it went ba-boom. And I was like, for the first time, I guess not the first time, in a long time, I was like, my initial reaction was like, whoa, this thing could go to 0. I was like, wow, that was crazy how fast it dropped. And then like, yeah, it was powerful. And so I was like, all right, something happened here. And I was like, all right, well, what can I do, right, to kind of combat this? And, we did get that bounce like we did, and then we kind of hovered around, and my gut and intuition was like, all right, look, you're still up a lot in a lot of these cryptos. You got to protect yourself a little bit, right? You didn't
100%.
you didn't take enough profit on the way up. Like I was buying Pancake Swap at like $3 and $6, went to $45, and I was still, I was like, it's gonna go to 60, it's gonna go to 100, right? And then bam, it fell to 20, and I was like, okay, if it bounces again, right, it's time to take some profit. And so I did, and it's been great because not only did I take profit, and I've been reinvesting now, it's a double win. And so I'm a huge hodler, man. I really am, but I'm starting to learn now more that like you do need to kind of, like, if you're going to do this thing, you kind of need to play the game a little bit because there's too much money not to. Like for me, it's like I'm kind of getting to points with some of the tokens that I have, and the numbers are getting pretty big. So I'm like, if I kind of, not necessarily time this 100% correctly, but if I start thinking a little bit harder, like we're talking big number swings. And so it just made sense for me to do it personally. I don't think it makes sense right now to take any more off the table the way that everything's. In fact, I'm starting to do the opposite. I'm starting to see these coins get really, really just like, wow, like Polkadot. I was like $11. I was like $11. That's like incredible to me for that project and what it's going to do. But yeah, just my thoughts. We're rambling, so we can get on to the next questions.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, selling the rips, right? Just like people say, buying the dips, sell the rips, sell the bounces. Sure. I may or may not have sold some ether on that last bounce because people were calling like after a dump from, what was it, like 4,400 to 1,800.
Yeah.
People were calling for like 3K plus. Like even Richard was calling for 3K plus. And I was looking at the chart and I was like, I saw that $2,800 ether.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, it's been to 1,800 like a few days ago. Downside risk is like 40%. Upside risk or upside potential if you're expecting 3,300 was like 10-20%. So the ratio didn't make much sense to me. I was like, risk reward, not looking too hot, weak bounce, like 2,800 ether, whatever. And here we are now at like 1,800 ether.
That's like literally exactly when I sold my ETH. It's crazy. I remember the dip coming and it went to like 2,000. I bought ETH at 2,000 and then it pumped back up to like the 27, 28. And I'm like, it's at 3,000. I've been buying ETH at like $400. Time to take some off. You know what I mean? And like, so yeah, good job.
Good job. To you too, man. Good job. I've got here a pretty simple question. Let's knock some of these out. Pretty new to Pulse airdrop. Am I correct that each dollar of crypto you sacrifice equals 10,000 points? How many points would equal one Pulse token? It's 1 point per pulse, pretty much. 1 pulse per point. Easy question.
Yeah, so this is a good question. I'll go back to that one real quick because I know Tim is a part of the group, and I'll answer this maybe a little bit more in depth here. So yeah, I mean, look, thanks for the question, Tim. Appreciate it. So $1 of crypto you sacrifice equals 10,000 points. Yes, but it also depends upon when you sacrifice your tokens and your. If you go back to that chart, Gerardo, real quick with the days 1 through 5 and then up, you get taxed depending upon all of those different factors, right? And so if you sacrifice, again, up the chart, it's going to fluctuate a little bit. So it's really important to pay attention to when you are sacrificing, because on the last day, you're getting half of what you would have gotten on day 1 through 5, correct? Depending upon the USD value. Yeah. So you got to really pay attention to that. If you're just doing stable coins, day 1 through 5, definitely the best. Get in. 100%. Don't get second guess it, right? But if you are doing other cryptocurrencies and you're speculating on what those cryptos are going to do, then maybe waiting if you think it's going to go up, or doing it now because you think it's going to go down is going to be your call, right? Because that's what you got to be thinking is, and again, it's very difficult to time, obviously, but that hopefully helps answer your question. And again, it is very complex. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of moving parts. So to say that, on day 15, that $1 of crypto is going to equal to 10,000 points, well, it just kind of depends, right? So did I do a good job with that one, Gerardo, or is there anything I missed?
No, I mean, hit it spot on. And I like you repeated that point that if you're sacrificing stable coins, definitely all in day, any day between 1 and 5 is the exact same. As you can tell, it's a flat curve. And yeah, if you're sacrificing anything other than that, you're pretty much betting that the coin you're sacrificing will outperform this curve.
Exactly.
So you're betting on it going over a 2x in 19 days, which it gets riskier over time, right? So yeah, if you're a low risk individual, probably stable coins day 1 through 5 is all the same. Thank you, Tim, for the question. Let's continue on. So what happens once sacrifice phase is over? Well, you kind of have like a bunch of moving parts where sacrifice phase is currently in day, what is it?
4.
I just said it. Day 4, yeah. And at some point in the middle of this, testnet will be released on, I think, GitLab, so people can start eyeballing the code. And then at that point, I'm just basing this off of what Richard has said on streams. He wants to get some servers running. At this point, I'm stepping into my non-expertise here when we're talking about actually running validator node servers and all that. I'll probably have to get an expert on to talk about that stuff. But pretty much after sacrifice phase is over, hopefully mainnet is just around the corner. It's hard to tell right now, but it should be either immediately after sacrifice phase is over or a week or two or something like that. We'll get our mainnet. It really depends on a lot of things that I'm not an expert on, like I said. So we'll see. But for the most part, you just wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you can kind of anticipate is what's happening on Ethereum is going to be happening on PulseChain, right? So you're going to have like a Uniswap idea, right? So I think they're going to be forking the code or doing something with the code to make it very similar to where it's like, okay, PulseChain is up, you got your tokens, price discovery begins. How do you swap? Just like Uniswap, right? There's going to be a way for you to do that. There's going to be bridges, I'm sure, to go back and forth. I'm sure that's kind of in the works and that's going to happen. And so I'd familiarize yourself a little bit with how Uniswap and also a bridge works so that you can be prepared for that, right? Because, you know, the best time to get into things is right away in the beginning, typically, right? Like you want to be, I mean, look at Bitcoin, look at Hex, right? Like the best time to have gotten in was right in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes too, things will dip, but like, I think what we can anticipate is that since things are starting at 0, I mean, there's only one way to go, right? Like, you know, I don't think it's going to go to negative, right? And, you know, who knows what people will do, right? That's an element of this that's unique. But typically, right, like we can anticipate some sort of appreciation. And then from there, it's just going to be price discovery, right? It depends upon how many people got coins, how many coins are actually in circulation. There's a lot of unknowns that we still have. But I'm anticipating, like, after sacrifice phase, it's going to be like, it's going to be like Ethereum all over again, like a new Ethereum and just like a whole bunch of stuff going on. And so it'll be really cool to see.
It will be. It really will be. Ethereum all over again. I like it.
Yeah.
A little different game theory, different times, but Ethereum all over again. Let's see. Can a coin be worth less than 1 sat? Yes, it can. 1 sat is just 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So that's pretty much asking, wait, it's 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, right? A sat?
That sounds about right, yeah.
Okay. So then you're basically asking, can price go beneath 30,000 over 100 million? Yeah, it can. You would just have to denominate it in something else, I guess, at that point.
I mean, things can go to 0, right? So
yeah, there you go.
This is crypto, right? Things can go to 0, so that's definitely less than 1 sat. But yeah.
What's your favorite time frame to choose when doing TA on Hex USDC? Love your channel. Thanks. Thank you for the comment, Dane Jonas. I like the daily. Some people might argue that's a little short term, but I find it gives us that good balance of resolution and long-term approach. Some people prefer weekly, or even the 3-day chart. That's a fun one. If you have access to a 3-day chart, I like those. Just because less people, I think, generally look at a 3-day chart. So you want to look at charts that people aren't looking at. 2-day charts are kind of cool too. But yeah, that's just your preference, really. Oh, sorry, not time frame. I meant candle closes. Then daily for sure. I don't know why people are worrying about p-hex. You're getting a duplicate. Yeah, I mean, like you said, you're winning either way. Whether you hold, get it copied over, whether you stake, you're getting it copied over, or you can sacrifice and you're getting PLS, a different coin, which you can then be used if you wanted to buy p-hex on the new network.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really cool is if you're already in Hex now today, like either way you're winning. If P Hex does amazing and the regular Hex just kind of stands still then because everyone's going to P Hex, well, you're still winning, right? And if people go back and forth, then yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest. I'm a little like I like Hex so much that I don't want to mess with it, and it's like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person that, I'm fortunate enough to pay the fees. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're a little obnoxious, but I kind of have so much Hex too that like the interest I'm getting off of some of this, like I had some stakes expire and I restaked them for like a month or two just to kind of have fun. I'm like, at this price point, the fees are like irrelevant. You know what I mean? And like they really are. I'm like, dang,
Right.
I'm earning X amount. Like that's way more than the fees. So I think that's really interesting, right? It's like we're solving this problem, but it's like I don't know. This is interesting.
I mean, you want to keep your gains though. Like even if I'm unstaking a multi-$1,000 stake, paying a penny just it's nicer than paying $200. So like,
I agree.
$200 buys you what, like a great steak dinner? Like
for sure.
Come on. David Feeder, OG Hexkin. I dumped my uni for Hex as soon as I received it. Easy choice. Good choice, bro. Good choice. Me too. What do you guys? This is a great one, dude. We are so behind. I'm sorry, we're so behind on chat. Like 30 minutes. Let's speed around through these. What do you guys think about the value of Pulse starting at 0? I think I'll hand it over to y'all. Answer it real quick. I think it's great from a tax perspective. I think it might be nuanced in the sense that sure, it might start at 0, but remember Richard Hart mentioned the contract that's going to buy up the ERC20s to equalize the pair ratios on the Uniswap fork, and therefore existing liquidity providers, if I'm correct, will be getting more Pulse than PRC20s once that happens. So I'm not sure if you'll actually be able to like access the mainnet before or after that happens. My guess would be after. So even though it starts at 0, I don't know if you'll be able to start interacting with it immediately, if that makes sense. Like maybe there'll be a slight delay, anywhere from minutes to days. I'm not sure. Oh, what's your take on this?
I mean, I personally really like that it starts at 0 because you get more multiples, right? Like if you started at 10 cents, right, then it's like, okay, well, a 1x is then to 20 cents and then up the chain. But if you start at 0, then you go to 1 and 2, you get more multiples doing that, right? So to me, I like it. I also like that it's a fair launch. It keeps it equal and fair for everybody. And that right there just sets a precedence for the entire project, right? Because people want fair, especially nowadays, right? Like there's no VCs, there's no influencers. And Richard tweeted about this. And I really respect this a lot because I've personally seen a lot of influencers and other people make projects and they do the buddy thing. They take care of the VCs, they take care of their friends, and they get them really good deals. And what happens to those projects? They pump and they dump, and then everyone forgets about them. And it's like, yeah, because you're not looking after the retail, right? You're not looking after the average person, which is a majority of the people that are going to be getting into this. And it really keeps it fair across the board. I love it. I think people then too will also get more excited if it goes from $0 to $1, right? They're gonna be like, whoa, that's awesome, right? Instead of going from starting at 50 cents to $1. You know what I'm saying? So again, Richard he's an absolute genius when it comes to all of this stuff. You're gonna get a ton of pulse because people love getting a ton of something. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing. I think that it's gonna be wildly successful. Again, not financial advice, and we have no idea what will happen, but I like that it starts at 0. I like that it's fair across the board. I think it's fantastic, and I think that's a great question.
Yeah, and it'll disincentivize people from selling right when they get their pulse, because if your cost basis is X, starts at 0, why would you sell that?
Exactly.
So I'm pretty sure that's you pretty much covered it. This is it's a great design. It's a great, like, a lot of things have been thought of. This is a great question. Tim Norman you said he was from your group, your chat.
Yeah.
He says he also heard that if you don't sacrifice at all, you only get 1 pulse per ETH. Don't understand that. 1 ETH is worth almost 2K. That's correct. The reason for that is to avoid, I believe it's to avoid just ETH holders dumping their pulse by like doing nothing, literally.
Yeah. So here's the scoop on this, Tim. This is a really good question. So there's a freemium aspect of this whole thing that I think kind of gets misunderstood. Like you can get free pulse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by holding ETH in your MetaMask, right? So you get 1 pulse token for every ETH that you have. So that God Whale's got like, I don't know, 100 or 200,000 ETH. He's going to get a couple 100,000 if he just holds it in his wallet of pulse, right? And so why Richard is doing this is because he did this exact same thing with Hex. He goes, look, we got a new thing. Come try it out. You know, because people love free. They love, like, it's so genius, right? Again, you got to really see what's happening here because if you look at some of those like phone games, right? Like what is it? God of War, or I don't know, whatever those games are on your phone. They give you free stuff to come and play the game. And then if you want to actually buy stuff, right? Once you start playing the game, you'll go, oh, well, I'm enjoying the game. I got a couple of tokens for free. I can spend $10 and get some more tokens, and that helps me advance in the game. That's exactly what Richard is trying to accomplish with doing this, right? So that's the whole game theory behind it. And yeah, look, there's and exactly right. He doesn't want to give away tons of pulse, right? Because I mean, there's a lot of ETH out there, and he wants to incentivize people who figure this out that they actually have some free pulse to kind of check it out, see what this is. And maybe one day, if you just hold on to it for a while, it'll actually be worth a lot. You know, if you have 10 ETH, right, and, you know, pulse over 4 or 5 years, you just have it, 10 pulse might be worth something. You know what I mean? So I think that's a little bit about that. And I don't know if there's anything else that I missed on there.
No, yeah, it's a great comparison. I completely forgot that he did exactly the same thing with Hex, where you had the option of you could free claim your Hex with a simple Bitcoin signature, but it was only 10,000 Hex per BTC that you signed with, that you owned, and proved that you owned the keys to. And so, well, let's see, when it launched, I think Bitcoin was what, like 4K? Let's just call it 5K. Right, December 2019, you might have a better memory of the Bitcoin chart. Let's just call it 5K. And you got 10,000 Hex. All right, so every $5,000 you owned, you got 10,000 Hex. And 10,000 Hex now is worth like $1,500.
Yeah.
Nice. However, if you had, say, it's not sacrificed, but rather maybe converted that Bitcoin into Ethereum, put it into the adoption amplifier for the, you know, sacrifice kind of mechanism, you would have potentially add millions of Hex, not just 10,000. And so it's a similar incentive to actually transfer whatever coin you have into the new thing, and to disincentivize, like you were saying, just the freemium. Although it could be worth something someday, but just keep in mind that sacrificing 1 Ether right now will get you 20 million pulse versus just holding 1 Ether will get you 1. So currently a dilution factor of like 20 million X, just something you might want to think about.
Oh, and also too, though, you got to remember that just you don't get to, you know, if like taxes is a problem, because I know it is for a lot of people, and you don't want to like get rid of maybe you like your ETH, and you just don't ever want to sell it ever, right? So then you still get to get Pulse for free just by holding it. You know what I mean? So you might as well move it into your MetaMask and take advantage of it. But yeah, I think we knocked out that question.
I think so. Nice. Yes, I do. I do think this is the case. AW. He asked, do you expect more social media opinion turbulence as Hex moves to acceptance? I mean, we're already seeing this. The then they fight you stage before the then you win. I mean, yeah, just today's stream, we had someone bring up some old cases that have already been kind of debunked in Hex, saying, you know, there's no liquidity, people can't sell, when the metrics and just real life reflects otherwise. But I mean, yeah, anything with success, like we touched on this a lot in our last stream, anything with success is going to be met with a lot of resistance, and especially if it's an innovation and something that hasn't been seen before. Yeah, of course. Like PulseChain is being accepted way more just because it's something people already know and familiar with. Ethereum, fork, easy, boom. But yeah, I do think I think the tides are turning. though. I do think we're at that point where we're getting more acceptance than not.
Yeah, and I think the indicators are showing that like we're getting more and more new users because I mean Richard's been on a lot more different social media channels and the bigger ones for sure. But I saw a video today, it's a really great video. Crypto Man Ran, he was on his show a couple times.
Yeah.
Crypto Banter is the show,
Yeah.
and the video basically said why Hex is definitely not a scam, and he basically maps it out and says Richard's been super transparent about everything. Scammers tell you one thing, they take your money and they run away. You know what I mean? The complete opposite has happened with Hex. And so, again, I think why Hex gets the hate that it does is because it is a little bit controversial and it's also a little hard to grasp right away, right? There's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of things to kind of think about. And for the average person, especially if they're new to crypto, it's like, I got to get a MetaMask. I got to get, money over to here. I got to learn how Uniswap works. Like that's a lot for a new person compared to just, Coinbase, Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Like it's two different things happening there. And then you have Richard and his whole personality, which is a little bit more outlandish, right? It's not good or bad. It's just him, but he's very, how do I put it? He's just a character, right? Let's just put it at that. And, but he's a genius. Like there's no doubt in my mind that the man is just absolutely a genius. And he's created something that is designed to do exactly what it's doing. And so the more people that figure that out, they're going to go, this is great. The community to me is what I think is really going to make this massive. And I do think that the community in Hex is amazing. We have a ton of really smart people. We have a lot of people that just in general get it, right? And the logo is fantastic. The name is fantastic. The colors are like all of those things matter when it comes to mass adoption and getting out there. And so is it coming? Yes. Is it coming tomorrow? It's going to take a little bit more time. I think that and I do think that, will it ever become a Bitcoin? Maybe down the line, but I still think in order to reach that adoption, we need to be on Coinbase, right? We need people have to, just literally go under their Coinbase, go under their Binance, buy Hex, and that's that. You know what I mean? And so I do think that once that happens, we will see the floodgates open. So I still believe that you're very early if you're watching this at the time of this recording, but that's kind of my take on this.
Hey, and there was a whole like community driven campaign on Twitter where everyone was tweeting at Coinbase, making testimonial videos. This is, I think, like a month or two ago. And like, I'm sure they saw it. I don't think there's any doubt that they saw it, whether they're going to take action. I mean, how long did it take them to list ADA? Like years. So, I mean, there's no rush in that sense. I mean, it could take years for it to be listed on Coinbase, but at that point, have you already missed out on the gains once it's listed? I mean, you see charts of things listing on Coinbase and they tend to just like, okay, it's a new place to sell. Well, let's just look at the charts of anything listed on Coinbase. It's generally not a pretty sight. Not saying that's going to happen if Hex is listed on Coinbase, but it does just become another place to buy and sell. But the eyes that would come into the space would be a lot.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Typically when things list on Coinbase, they kind of moon a little bit. Like Polygon Matic was one of those.
Yeah.
And it went from like 30 cents to like 250. And I do know that like I talk to a lot of people that are just very new, right? Because a lot of them come off of YouTube, they watch our videos and they're, maybe not necessarily brand new, but a little bit newer, right? They have some of these questions and they go, they talk to me all the time. They say, Joe, I got a Coinbase, and I'm like, yeah, you're on Coinbase. Got you. And he's like, well, what are the coins that we can get on Coinbase? Right. Because to them, like that's crypto is Coinbase. And so,
right.
When they see a new coin on Coinbase, you got to think like so many people are just like, oh, it hit on Coinbase. I got to get it. You know what I mean? And so I do think that, there is that sell pressure too that can happen, but I still think that from mass adoption, we're definitely potentially years away still. I think that, we're warming up to it. More people are becoming aware. And the influencers who have fudded it are starting to kind of like bite their lip and go, okay, we were wrong. You know what I mean? But there's still plenty of it out there. And we saw it today. I mean, the guy just was relentless, like calling it a scam. And it's just like, yo, dude,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
His whole contention was the liquidity, like not being able to sell. I don't think he called it straight out a scam. He was just saying it's like not everyone can sell. It's that whole argument.
Well, I mean, But I mean, Richard, again, and this is important for people to understand this, just to hammer this home. And Richard just says this so many times, like, you compare Hex to the beginning of Bitcoin.
Right.
If you look at Bitcoin in the beginning, how much liquidity was there? Very, very little.
Yeah.
Right. When was the best time to buy Bitcoin? Right in the beginning. You can go, well, there was no liquidity. If everyone sold, it would have went to zero. It's like, yeah, it went to $30 and then it dipped to like almost nothing. Right. And it's like, that's the opportunity, people. Right. The dip is the opportunity. The pump is the opportunity. The volatility is the opportunity. Like getting into Bitcoin right now, I don't own any Bitcoin. Zero. I tell people this. I don't own any Bitcoin. And this is what Richard says too. And again, he's just smart. It's like everything else is destroying Bitcoin right now. Mm-hmm. Everything else is doing way more multiples, this and that. So it's like, why would you buy Bitcoin? Just to I guess risk off? Sure. But it's like, if you want risk off, just sit in something else a little bit, risk off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Just to me, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just more risk on, but that's my little rant. Hopefully it helps people.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, like I said, back in the day, I think the only place to sell or use your Bitcoin was local Bitcoins. I think you actually had to meet up with people and like trade stuff and like, okay, I'll send you 10K Bitcoin. You give me this, I don't know, car or whatever. And you call that liquid when you literally have to meet up with people and like send it to them. There was no market for this for the longest time.
Right.
But,
and you would beg to go back to that time and buy Bitcoin for $500 or $800,
Right.
You'd love it. But again, it's like, yeah. Well, we won't give that any more of our attention though. So we'll keep moving with these questions, but they've been good.
Very good questions. I agree. Thank you guys for the questions. I want to give a shout out to this super chat I just noticed. Thank you for the 555. I like the symbolism there. Let's see. New question now is going to be, where does the hex go? Yeah. The whole where does the ETH go narrative. Get ready for this. Where does the hex go? Let's see. The countdown timer is on lookintohex.com/pulse, by the way.
I mean, yeah, I think
they added it to the official website.
Okay,
is that
nice.
true? Let's check.
But yeah, to answer where does the hex go? I wouldn't worry about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't worry about it.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be sold on the market anytime soon. Let's put it that way. No matter who has it or what the keys are, I think it's a really bullish thing. And people don't understand this. Like, they think that like the centralization of things is a bad thing. It's not. Like, there's going to be a whale in Pulse that owns all the Pulse. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always a whale somewhere. And so, like, Dogecoin is another amazing example. You talked about this in your video, right? It's like some Dogecoin holder owns 28%. Yeah, he could sell at any time. Has he? Nope. And people buy Dogecoin all the time. You know what I mean? Like, Dogecoin has done so much better in the last year than Bitcoin. Like, you would have been better buying Dogecoin than a lot of other cryptocurrencies. But yet one address owns the majority of it. So like that's the paradigm that people aren't figuring out. And it's like, you need to just look, you should never risk any more money than you can afford to lose anyway. So if you're going to risk something, like, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, give it a whirl. But yeah, that's great that they have the countdown timer for us now.
Oh yeah. I probably saw everyone in the community making their own timers and not agreeing with each other. But yeah, the one I had up on lookintohex.com/PLS. I'll probably take this down now, just so people can rely on the official one. But yeah,
or you could just mirror it to that one. I think that'd be helpful too.
Good point. I should just mirror it. It's literally just 2 minutes off. So awesome. I was basing it off of 448 UTC. It looks like it's based off of 450 UTC. Awesome. So yeah, shout out to whoever's in charge of this site, hosting the site and making edits. This timer looks way nicer than mine too. I did it like this little embed widget from some like free countdown timer website. It's funny. Everyone was so excited. Like, I make all these charts on lookintohex.com, and everyone was most excited yesterday about that timer. And I was like, all right, people are funny. We just answered this. What will happen to the money that's sacrificed? Could it buy more hex? I mean, it can do whatever it wants. It can just hold the coins forever. All I've seen it do that's, I guess, significant is all the ether it's received, it's sold it for stable coins. I think DAI specifically, it's just selling all its ether, which makes sense if whoever owns that wallet thinks ether is going to go down. Like, you don't want to secure the value right now before it does. So yeah, we kind of just answered that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking at, man, almost a whole hour behind. Let's see. Who knows what the whales will do? No expectation of profits. Sheesh, bag secured by Joe. I think they're talking about when you sold your ETH at 2,800. Let's see. Recent pump was after BitBoy video. I mean, yeah, the social tides are turning, and when you get millions of new eyes, it just helps. It helps, I think. Well, it's like marketing, right? Like, if you have a good product, marketing will just amplify that. If you have a terrible product, marketing will amplify it in the other direction. So I think millions of eyes with something like Hex is just going to help, personally.
Yeah, for sure. And, people do watch BitBoy a lot, but the thing that was interesting about the BitBoy show, and I've been on around the blockchain a couple of times, and it's great. I mean, I'm telling you, it's I've gotten more views and more subscribers. I remember like right after the show that happened. So yeah, it definitely, can be a win-win. But there was another crypto YouTuber that talked smack about it, and then it just went viral from there. So it was like one guy wanted him on the show, then the other guy wanted him on the show, and then boom, you know what I mean? It definitely, yeah, I mean, influence is real, guys. Like, honestly, there's amazing opportunities that you can get from being an influencer and just like sharing and doing that kind of content. And yeah, I mean, if it's definitely possible that after that video, we've seen an upwards price movement for sure. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. A lot of opportunity, but also responsibility when you have that kind of influence. And
Sure.
Steph pointed this out, creator of the Staker app, on a video with Funding Jim the other day, saying, and I felt this a lot, because he was saying how, like, if you don't know something, bring on an expert. You kind of noticed earlier, I was like, you know what, when it comes to like hosting servers and all of that, like, don't ask me about it. So be responsible in the sense that, like, know when to say, just like, I have no clue. And instead of just false confidence and knowing something you actually don't know, right? So I'll stick to math because I'm a math guy. I've always been good at math. But with, like I said, like hosting servers, I don't ask me, man. Ask, I think David Feeder has been making like a splash, like trying to be the #1 PulseChain validator. So yeah, good luck to you, David. I believe in you. But yeah, that was kind of a, I don't think I closed that thread. I just kind of ranted, but I'm gonna keep looking at some comments. Let's see. Yeah, first 5 days, logical. If you're in stable coins, for sure. Sacrifice and end the drama. Go to the gym and beat the metal around. I like that style, for sure. Or hey, you don't even have to go all in on any one day. You can average in, right? That's always a strategy. Okay, so stream, yeah.
Yeah, no, about the averaging in. That's what I talked about in one of my videos in my online class, is because I made some exclusive videos for the students in my class. And that was one of the things I did mention, was like, this is a unique like situation with this whole, let's call it a pre-sale, right? Whatever you want to call it. And it is an opportunity for, there, it might be better to dollar cost average in. It's something I typically don't say to do, because I believe that there's better strategies. Mm-hmm. But for this, there could be that situation where it might just be better to do that. And, it's really interesting.
And you can do dynamic averaging in, like, it doesn't have to be the same every day. If you think there's going to be hot spots where you're going to get a better deal, maybe weight your average heavy on those days and then just like a little baseline amount on other days. Like, there are so many ways to go about it. Yeah, StreamYard just hid a bunch of old comments. It only goes 30 minutes back. So
All right, well, we can do a couple more, and then I think
a
we
couple
might want
more.
to wrap it up.
For
That's fine.
sure. That sounds good to me. Yes, you can sacrifice multiple times from the same wallet, and it'll just be added up at the end. Yep. Let's see.
And you can sacrifice too from multiple different chains and multiple different coins, right? Like it all adds up to like the total dollar amount. And then again, obviously we've talked about all those different metrics of when you sacrifice and the different tax and all that stuff. But like, yeah, you can sacrifice from Coinbase for Bitcoin, right? If you want to do that, then you can sacrifice from your MetaMask, Ethereum. You know what I mean? So you can sacrifice from wherever. Just make sure that you follow the steps on the website to a T, because if you make a mistake, it's gone, man. So you got to be really sensitive to that. There's a lot of really good tutorials out there, but yeah, be very, very, because you get a unique address, right? So make sure that you're sending your own unique address. The ETH one though is universal, but again, just I don't want to say too much about it because there's different situations. Just make sure you read carefully and that you know exactly the information that's in front of you on the website, and make sure to get a MetaMask and connect your MetaMask.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think it just added the capability of you can sacrifice your EOS, you can sacrifice your BSC, your XLM. Like they've been adding new supported sacrifice coins for the past few days. So yeah, definitely keep track of that if you have other coins you want to sacrifice too. Wanted to point that out. Funding Jim, he says, if Joe's in Puerto Rico, let's meet. I am HexOG. Are you familiar with Gary's content?
I don't think so. Yeah, so if he's here in Puerto Rico, reach out, man, for sure. Just drop a comment on my YouTube channel, or there's info in my YouTube stuff. So just reach out, man. That'd be great.
He's a big business guy, has been super successful, I believe. Similar in like Richard, how they've been successful way before crypto. And he recently made an amazing comeback with his content. He's talking about, how to secure your wealth once you've made all these hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars, a lot of newly minted millionaires in Hex. How do you protect that? And he makes clear that he's not a CPA or a tax advisor, but just pointing you in the right direction of, don't just like cash out, blow your stack, realize, oh crap, I have to pay taxes. And then just like, it's easy to win the lottery and then be broke a year after. So just,
it's really, really important to talk about this because before I got back into crypto again, fortunately in 2017, I kind of just dabbled. Like I didn't do that much. So like, fortunately I didn't go crazy and like rack up a crazy tax bill or anything like that. Like it was, and I lost a lot of money. So that kind of like, you don't have to pay a lot of money if you lose it. It's kind of what it is. But it is important to be thinking about these things because every transaction is like a taxable event, yada yada yada. And that's one of the main reasons I'm here, because of the whole tax implications here. And there's a whole lot of other reasons, and that's a whole nother discussion. But look. The first thing I guess what I'm saying is before I got into this, so if you're brand new to crypto and you're like, this sounds great, I want to get involved, you really do need to pay attention to the tax implications. So where you're at, what they are, because you need to reverse engineer, what if I do end up making millions, right? What do I need to do? And for me, a few months ago, I saw the handwriting on the wall and I'm like, I need to move. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I'm here. There's many other factors too, but I was like, I need to move. And so, if Funding Jim is a good, plug for that, definitely check that out. And if anyone has any questions about that specific stuff, again, I'm not a CPA either, but I do have some experience here. And I'm happy to have an open discussion with anyone at some point.
I think that would be a great stream. I would love to see you guys do whether stream together, or you guys meet up in, private or whatever. I think that'd be a powerful collab of you two. Awesome. Just a nice comment here. Thanks for your input. Multiple Hex and Pulse streams going on at once. TV started with one channel as well and has a pretty good track record. Shows where we are at in the S curve. Yeah, all the social metrics are looking up to me personally. Crypto Journeyman, he's excited that he's getting paid today. Good for you, man. 5 p.m. Let's go. Let's see. Good evening, folks. Good evening to you, Maddie. So many comments, man. Just trying to get through these and look for like the questions that can help a lot of people at once if we answer them, kind of thing.
No, definitely. Let's do 2 or 3 more. I think that'd be a good kind of time because we've been on for a couple hours here, and I'm sure the folks that will we'll definitely have to try to come on again, maybe towards the end of the sacrifice phase to see how things have come together. And I think that'd be kind of fun to do a follow-up.
Agreed. I like the spacing with which we did our streams too, because it seems like we gave the previous stream enough time to like fully saturate all the views it was going to get, and people to kind of get to know you and us, and but yeah, we'll definitely update you guys in the future. Estimation of the supply of Pulse. Interesting. Well, $260 million is entered. An average of 1.75x multiplier. Some quick math. 260 million times 10,000. Like 4.5 trillion so far. Might be more. I mean, by the end of sac phase, might be looking at like 10, 15 trillion.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be, and I think it's fun because you get a lot of coins. People like that feeling.
True. Keep in mind, Richard has mentioned that testnet is a space to see whether the system actually is okay with that many units in the system, like 10 trillion units. From a computer science perspective, I think there are nuances in that. So again, not too sure about that, but speculative. All this, like how much supplies are going to be, etc. It's just speculative at this point. So I'll say right now, currently, my guess would be, given the rate at which things are going, 10 trillion coins, assuming there's no funny business with like the system not liking that many coins. Sacrificing 1 ether will get me what? Currently, what's the price of an ether? 1,800 bucks?
Yeah, like 1,900, somewhere around there.
So about 20 million coins, 20 million Pulse. Yep. This is a great one. Will Pulse be deflationary?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. It will. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've been taking a lot of these. Go ahead and
yeah. I mean, according to it, I think what the tokenomics are, it will be deflationary. I think every single time people swap for it, there's going to be a burn. And then I think there's a couple other mechanisms as well, but it should in theory be deflationary, very similar to what Ethereum's doing. That's kind of why I said earlier in the stream, I'm like, it's going to be like Ethereum all over again, right? Because I do think that with EIP 150 or 1559 coming, what are they doing? All those transactions are going to be burned. I think the same thing is going to be happening here. It's very even better, right? And so with less fees, just in general, but that's going to incentivize more people to transact, and yeah, it's going to add up really quickly. So it does have a deflationary mechanism in it with the trading, and I don't know if there is other ones as well.
It's just 0% inflation, so validators only get transaction fees as rewards. They don't get any inflation because there is no inflation in the system. And then, like you were saying, of those transaction fees, 25% of those will be burned. I think it's 25% last I checked.
Yep.
And so that gives you a supply that, let's say it does start at 10 trillion, like I said, well, over time, it'll be less and less and less, which is kind of neat because if you have a decreasing supply, to maintain a static market cap, price of each unit has to go up. So there'll be this nice bias, I think, towards an increasing price. That's just my take. Let's see. Maybe knock out 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, let's do 2 more.
Awesome. Very good talk. Thank you, Goddins. Let's see. Coinbase listed Doge too. Hex is more worthy. Yeah, I mean, you said something that was interesting to me. You said Coinbase is crypto or something like that. It's like the average person, how they really only buy and sell what's on there. Another site, which I don't want to mention the name of, but they're getting hit with a lawsuit because they have hundreds of millions of users per month and don't list Hex correctly. So I think there definitely is a lot of potential left in terms of the social aspect of things. Coinbase, that site, and influencers finally talking about it. So
Yeah,
I agree with that.
you know, and as much as the centralized exchanges have their issues, like fair enough. They are the mainstream onboarding way,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's just be honest. Like, I even still use them to get my fiat on quick, right? Like, and so for like, again, I think for Hex to really make that push virally, it's going to have to be easy for people to get at it. And again, Uniswap and that stuff for us who've been in crypto, I mean, it's easy enough for us, but it's those 2 or 3 extra steps for people. Like if you go to the Hex website and you're like, I want to buy Hex, and then you see like download MetaMask, then you got to do this and then buy this. It's just like, whoa, like somebody's going to be like, just maybe a little bit intimidated by it. But if they're more familiar with Coinbase, why? Because they've heard it, all that kind of stuff. Yes. And then another thing too, this is a very big component to why you want to actually get listed on one of these centralized exchanges. It's credibility, right? Like it just is. And as much as like we don't really need it, it's just one of those like milestones. It's like, you're on Coinbase. It's like, okay, that's legit, right? You kind of just say like, all right, this is legit, more legit project. And even, Coinbase is starting to list more and more coins. Fair enough, but like, it is kind of that. Okay, it's on Coinbase, so it must be more. There is some sort of trust that comes with that, and there is some sort of, just like I said, establishment of it's in the mainstream, and yeah, I'm blanking on the word what I just said, but yeah,
totally, man. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. There's I can't remember, but Coinbase went public right recently for like I think 100 billion or something. What was interesting to me, I read I think it was their quarterly earnings, like Q1 of this year, they made a killing. Just makes me think like, okay, they must have a ton of users. I don't know if this is public info, how many users they have, or if you can just do some math on the numbers, but yeah, it would only help. It's mainstream crypto, even if it's not real crypto, right? It's fiat onboarding in the sense that it's how you get your dollars into the ecosystem or one way. But yeah, I mean, there's not much more to be said about that. It would be a good thing, in my opinion.
Cool. Let's find one more good one, and that one kind of answers Yellowtail's question about Coinbase would expose 90% of U.S. people. Yeah, for sure. The more there would be good.
Thank you for the super chat, Vinay. Someone just says a documentary crew should make a piece on Richard, the Hex journey, and the love from the community. Not a reality show, if not even that, at least a documentary. Can mention massive donation for a charity. Yeah, dude, like you could write a whole thesis on just the journey of Hex from the beginning. And yeah, documentary would be amazing. I agree. Thanks for the super chat. My camera is super low, so this is good timing to end it pretty soon. I just want to shout out Ballier Brand for the 369. I think we're caught up on most questions. You still want to do one more, or you want to call it here?
I think we're good.
Right.
That was a great, opportunity. Thanks again for having me on the channel. Really appreciate it. Definitely subscribe if you guys have not subscribed yet to Gerardo's channel. I mean, fantastic TA and more. So, yeah, it's a pleasure, man. We'll definitely have to follow up again in the near future. Thanks for everybody that also asked the questions. We appreciate you guys showing up and spending your time and educating yourself. And I don't know, man, really exciting things to come with this. I do think that this is an incredible opportunity. Continue everyone to do their own research on it, but hopefully we provided you guys some value here today. And if you're interested in more of it, check out our channels, and we'll be back for sure.
Super good at outros. I love it. That's the worst part for me. It's just I'm just like, yeah, okay, bye. But yeah, guys, like if you enjoy this content, go check out Joe's channel. The links to that are actually all in the description. Unlike last stream where I had to do it after, they're already there, prepared. And yeah, subscribe to me, obviously, subscribe to him. You've been crushing it. I like to see people like you out there spreading the good word. So yeah, dude, thanks for the chat, for helping me educate both of our audiences, and just wishing the best for you, your followers, and obviously for everyone here. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely do this again. Any parting thoughts before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just continue to keep putting in the work, right? Because I think a lot of people, they just they want things to come fast, and it's like, yeah, it can come fast, but you got to really study, do your research, take your time, right? Like, don't rush into things, and delay gratification, right? I mean, there's some real utility in that, and also too, like, just enjoy the journey, like, have fun. Life is short, like, I think some people like miss out on that sometimes, and they're just so focused on like like not being in the moment. And I know it's a little bit maybe different from what we've been talking about today, but it's like, enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, palm trees, and just enjoy your life, because it goes fast. And yeah, we'll definitely be back. So thanks, brother. Appreciate you. And yeah, we'll definitely follow up.
Well said, man. Thanks son for coming on again, Joe. We'll definitely catch you in a future video. All right, peace out, everyone.